He's an introvert, interviewing strangers from the internet, knocking down the walls of his comfort zone, one conversation at a time. This is the Gary Cantrell Podcast.
The Gary Cantrell Podcast, May the 27th, 2020. Really? May's almost over already? You have got to be kidding me. This year is flying by. I don't know where the year's gone, but it's just flying by. It's been a wild one, that's for sure. This week on the podcast, I'm going to be talking to Jannah. I've been trying to arrange this for quite some time. We finally got the schedules locked in, the stars aligned, and we're doing it today. But before we get into that, let me tell you about my Patreon podcast producers. Caitlin at Caitlin Elise. Make sure you put 3 Ys. That's right, 3 Ys in her name. Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey. Amanda at Mutts_and_Miles. And Morgan at DDPY Mama. Patreon.com/Gary Cantrell is the place to go if you want to hear this podcast 5 days before anybody else. That's right. No kidding. No BS. You get this show 5 days before everybody else. Higher quality MP3, private RSS, 25% off the Hard Work Always Wins merch store. Need I say any more? Patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you got a few bucks, you want to support the show, we do appreciate it. And now, let's get right to it. Let me get Jane on the line here. As I mentioned at the start, we've been trying for a while to get this thing happening, and it's finally happening, so I'm really excited to hear about her story. She's a creative, she's an artist, she's a musician, you name it, she does it, she's amazing, and let's get her on the phone right now. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, Gary. It's so awesome to hear from you. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I just want to apologize real quick. I left my SD card in an adapter in another room, and I'm like, where is my SD card?
Oh, no, that's okay. That's totally cool. That's fine.
I figured you would get it because you are a creator. You are an artist. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, I totally get it. I've got memory cards and stuff and everything everywhere. I totally get you, yeah.
I love that. I was like, this girl is doing so many things. I've got to get her on the podcast. We've got to talk. I'm like, we got some connections here for sure.
I know. Yeah, for sure.
How long? Let's start with the music because that is something that is near and dear to my heart. I used to play music actively years ago. I've kind of been out of it for a couple of years because I just kind of fell out of love with the creation of music. I still love to listen to it, obviously. But for you personally, how long have you been into creating your own music?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it all goes back to when I was a kid. I mean, both my parents are working musicians. My dad's a music minister and my mom's a singer. I always like to say I get my pipes from her. So, I grew up in a musical household. We were listening to music every day. So, I mean, I've been singing since, I can remember, forever. So,
yeah. Well, it's got to help to have the family be involved in it. Cause I know when I was younger and playing guitars, like turn that thing down. Like, my parents, not that they didn't like it, but maybe they just didn't get it. I mean, for you though, having your parents like all in on it, I mean, that's got to help tremendously.
Well, right. I mean, and it's great because, to have that kind of support, from home, like, so I consider myself really lucky because my parents are like the coolest people in the world. My dad's really cool because he's got like this kind of like really super long, and from Harry Potter, the guy who, he's the bad guy and he's got the long blonde, white hair. He's got that kind of haircut going on.
Right.
And he's got this like super rockin' musician hair and, so he's got this like rockin' hairdo and he's super tall and, he's awesome. And he plays organ, he plays piano and he plays bass.
Wow.
And, so yeah, he's like super wicked talented. And he also directs choir and, and he does a little bit of teaching too. And, so my dad is the one, his love for music is he is really the one who got me into music and my passion for music is he's the one who kind of got me into music. And then my mom's talent, her voice kind of got me inspired into it. So her talent plus his passion equals me. So.
Oh, I love that. What were they
Yeah.
raising you on? Like, what kind of music were you raised on?
Well, a lot of Beatles for sure.
Okay,
The
great.
Beatles. I was jumping up and down on the couch to baby, you can drive my car.
Yes.
So, and Abbey Road, and so a lot of Beatles, a lot of Stevie Wonder, a lot of that, and then of course like musicals, because my mom is she's a classically trained vocalist. There's a lot of jazz, a lot of Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, and lots of good stuff. So yeah, I got a pretty wide exposure to a lot of music. And a lot of sacred music too, because my dad's a church musician. So I mean, I got a lot of music when I was a kid. So good stuff.
I love that. One random question, like a curveball, I'm just going to throw at you that I throw at a lot of people that are really into music. Let's just say you're trapped on this desert island for the rest of your life, but you can only take one band or artist's like catalog of music. You can only listen to one band or one artist. Like, who would that be?
Oh, that's so difficult. Oh no. I'm gonna have to go Stevie Wonder because I love Stevie's stuff.
Okay.
Because I feel like I can dance to it, I can sing to it, I can riff to it. It never gets old. His stuff never gets old.
Yeah.
It's the oldie but goodie. It's just good stuff.
I love the older stuff. My answer, for the record, for people that may be new to this podcast or whatever, I always said the Eagles. That was my answer to that question.
That's good.
Yeah, their whole catalog, I just love it. But I just think in general, I mean, not that the music of today is bad, because there's a lot of good stuff that I can jam to, but it just seems like the classic stuff. I mean, anything out of the 70s, the 80s, that's kind of my wheelhouse. Some of the 90s, like, I love the older stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. It seems like people tend to lean towards that because, I mean, music nowadays is good. I mean, you've got Adele, you've got, Gaga, and you've got some goodies, but the oldies is just kind of where it's at least in my opinion.
Definitely. I mean, if you were to throw me like a little playlist, what's like 3 to 5 songs you would put on it just immediately?
Oh man, okay. As far as like of all time or just
let's go all time, just so I can kind of get a feel for you. I mean, you've given me some great examples already, but let's just say 5 random songs. What would you do on a playlist like that?
Oh, okay. Sending Out an SOS by the Police.
Oh, that's a good one.
Send My Love to Your New Lover by Adele, because I love that song.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's 2. 3, I gotta throw classical. There's a Beethoven's Fifth, because everybody should listen to Beethoven's Fifth, because classical. I gotta throw my college background in there. 4, I'm gonna put Frank Sinatra. I'm gonna put Blue Moon because I love Frank. Frank Sinatra's really good.
Okay.
I love some Frank Sinatra. And then 5, 5. I'm trying not to leave like anybody out. This is so hard. Oh man, I've kind of been on a Kanye West kick because I love his Jesus is Lord, Jesus is King, just because it's Easter.
Yeah.
But I really have been on his Life of Pablo album, so I've been listening to Ultralight Beam. I love that song. So Ultralight Beam by Kanye West.
Do you have any? Do you have any like 1 or 2 songs that are like a guilty pleasure that you totally listen without wanting to tell anybody, but I'm going to ask you in front of people now?
Yeah. I mean, I do guilty pleasure songs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rebecca Black Friday, sometimes I'll listen to that.
Oh, yeah.
It's so stupid and silly, but it's just funny. Oh, man. That's one of those. I can't think of another one, but I think Rebecca Black Friday. It's Friday. Just because it's so culturally, like people still talk about it. Like how, like Rebecca Black Friday. I think I still think about that and talk about that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think the answer for a lot of people tends to be something that's like cheesy pop kind of stuff like that. Like for me, I would always go to like the the boy bands and stuff like that, because I was always known as a guy who was like the rocker kind of guy, but secretly would listen to a lot of this poppy kind of stuff. I just couldn't get enough of it. Like, I mean, who doesn't love some Joey Lawrence out of the Absolute Blue? I mean, whoa, like who doesn't love that stuff?
Right, for sure.
Oh my God. What is your primary instrument though? I mean, other than singing?
My primary instrument, I guess I should say secondary, it's piano. Because when I went in college, my first instrument was voice, my major.
Yeah.
And then they made us do piano because, if you're going to teach, you have to be able to accompany yourself and accompany your students. So piano is my second. And then I also play ukulele and I play clarinet as well. I played clarinet in the marching band when I was in high school.
I saw you with the ukulele earlier in your stories. I was like, okay, I got to ask her about the instruments.
Yeah. So my instruments are voice, piano, ukulele, and clarinet. So those are my big ones. But I love ukulele because it's such an easy instrument to pick up because it's only 4 strings.
Right.
It's real quick. I picked it up in like a couple of weeks. It's real fast. Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, I always cling to a good old acoustic guitar. That was the first instrument that I ever learned, but also like stuck with. Like I know that when I was in like elementary school, my mother, for whatever reason, I was always bugging her like, oh, let me try the saxophone or the bass, like the big stand-up bass, kind of like a cello kind of thing. And none of that stuff stuck. And finally, I got an acoustic guitar in one of these classes, and I learned like some Nirvana, and I was hooked.
Oh, a guitar is so hard for me to pick up. I tried jumping from ukulele because it's 4 to 6 strings,
Right.
And I have a hard time with the chord changes. It's just difficult for me, and so I'm still struggling. I'm on the struggle bus. But I'm taking my time and I'm learning it. I'm taking some time. So I took a break from it, but maybe I'll pick it back up. Maybe you've inspired me. Maybe I'll pick it back up.
I hope that you'll post a video or something sometime about that. I'll tell you one of the biggest challenges for me was like a 12-string guitar, because those things are really complicated.
No.
Yeah. They're just like they have really, really good sound, but like trying to learn how to tune those things and then, trying to get your fingers to be able to hold down all these strings. It's just, I don't want to say it's impossible. Nothing is impossible, but it's just, it can be a challenge. That's all. I'll just say that.
Right. For sure.
Where did you grow up at?
So I am a Michigander.
Okay. Born and raised?
Yes. So I was born in Michigan, but I lived in Florida for a couple years because, when Dad has a job, you follow Dad wherever he goes.
Yes.
So, because my grandparents actually live in Florida in the Tampa area. So, I was born in Michigan, lived in the Florida area for a while, and then came back up to Michigan. So, I have a couple of years in my childhood where I just remember Florida. But then I came back up to Michigan and spent the rest of my elementary through now where I am in my adult life. So Michigan, pure born bred Michigan.
Were the memories of Florida good memories necessarily? Because when you think of Florida, a lot of people think of it like, oh, I go to vacation there. But like when you go to live there, I know a lot of the people. It's not that they don't like it necessarily, but they just don't talk about it like very highly.
Oh yeah, I mean Florida, definitely good memories there. It's really hot, and it's just I remember it just was really hot, and we always had in the backyard. We always had this huge Lion King like blow up pool.
Wow!
So I just have memories of just swimming like endlessly and just in circles with my sister. I have a twin sister.
Okay, cool.
And we would just swim like all day. So much fun.
And what brought you back to Michigan? It was just your father, the job. He got called back to Michigan, and that was it.
Yeah, he just got called back to Michigan, and then we just packed up and came back. And I also think we spent a couple of years in Florida just to spend time with my grandparents as we grew up a little bit. A couple of years as my sister and I were kids. Because my sister and I were the first grandchildren in the family, so
right.
I think it was kind of nice to spend time. Our parents kind of planned that out. We spent time with my grandparents, and then after a couple of years, we packed up and moved back up to Michigan.
So with Michigan, like you're all about it, like you love it. You couldn't imagine living anywhere else.
I love Michigan. Michigan is home. I also love California.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
family out in California. I've traveled to California. The weather is beautiful.
Where in California?
Uh, like Tahoe area up there.
Okay.
And then so I went out to Tahoe, and then my great aunt lives in the Sacramento area. She lives in a suburb of Sacramento,
Right.
and it's so beautiful out there, and like the rocks, and it's like I don't know. I feel like I went and I had golden glasses on, and it's just so pretty out there and beautiful out there.
California
So
seems like it would be like very inspiring for artists,
Yeah, for sure. It's just, and the water is out there, and I went up to Lake Tahoe, and it was really cold when I went up. I went out in the springtime. It was really cold, but
Right.
it's just the lakes and the air. I don't know. It's just beautiful out there. So but Michigan is home. It's where my roots are. My family is here, so I love Michigan. So the weather is crazy, and we get the seasons every day. But,
Yeah, same here.
Michigan is home. Yeah.
Same here. Virginia is also one of those states or this area like near DC is one of those places where we get all 4 seasons, and it could happen any day. And yesterday was like over 80. Today it was 55. I tell my boss, I'm like, look, if I get sick, it's not the Rona. It's just straight up the allergies and this weather change because it's so harsh.
Oh, I know, right? It was 60 yesterday. Now it's like 30 degrees. Awful.
Do you have anything like allergies or anything like that like messes you up when the weather changes so frequently?
Oh yeah, of course. I have asthma, so
no.
whenever the weather changes, I suffer terribly. It's awful. Yeah, it's awful.
Oh man, that that definitely is a bummer. The asthma, I could see where that would be a big bummer, especially with the weather change, because if it's so unpredictable, it's going to be hard to just adjust to.
Yeah, but I will say it is better than Florida because Florida's the swamp, because it's tropical.
This is true.
So the air is heavier and, the humidity is higher, so it's harder to breathe. So Michigan is better for allergies, at least for me, for breathing, for sure.
Right. Now, so when you moved back from Florida to Michigan, what was kind of your childhood like? Did you have a good childhood growing up and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I moved back, I was in second grade at that point, first, second grade.
You're just getting started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was just getting started, thinking about my childhood. I can't remember, what is it the age that they say, you can remember your childhood? I don't know what they say.
I'm going to say 6 or 7. That's just a random guess, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what age you are when you're in second grade, but from what I remember, my childhood was good. I mean, I grew up in a really loving household. My parents are still together. They're, like I said, they're the coolest people, my mom is Canadian, and
oh wow. Okay, cool.
So, she's just so funny. My mother is the spirit of, I like to say my grandmother is the spirit of Julie Andrews and Debbie Reynolds.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom is Melissa McCarthy. It's just so funny. My grandmother is Julie Andrews and Debbie Reynolds, and my mom is Melissa McCarthy. It's just so funny. So,
I love that. I mean, I've seen a bunch of Melissa McCarthy's movies, and I feel like in a lot of movies she plays the same lady, but it gets me every time.
Yeah. So my mother is just hilarious. So, we laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And at the house. So it's good. So it's good times. So my parents are still together, so, they're great. I'm really fortunate to have, good parents. They're the best. They've supported me, whatever I've wanted to do, whenever I have doubts, I can always call them and be like, I'm having a hard time. And, they're always there for me. So I'm considerably blessed, definitely blessed for sure.
Definitely. As you're growing older, middle school, high school, what's a lot of that like for you?
Yeah. So middle school, high school, that's when I kind of started to get into the arts, and I started to kind of dive into everything and anything music and art related. When I got into high school, I was the drum major of the marching band. I was in show choir. I was like the soprano section leader of show choir. I had so much fun in show choir. In show choir, we always did like an Eagles song. We always did a Journey song, like an Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Nice.
There was so much. I have so many good memories in show choir. You know, they always say like, like the show like Glee, like, that kind of like, it was kind of like that minus all of the drama and stuff, so it was so much fun. And I did a bunch of musicals and, a bunch of plays. So anything, theater related, theater and music related. I didn't get into studio art. I took like one class and I sucked. I was terrible at like drawing and I was terrible at that. But yeah, and anything music and art related, art meaning theater art related, I did. I had a lot of fun in high school. So I was really fortunate where, like the art recession hadn't happened yet. It was right after I left high school. The cutting of the arts program.
Oh yeah.
Happened. Right after I left high school and middle school and high school, it just started to happen. So I was really fortunate. I was in high school. I went to high school from like 2007 to 2011. I graduated high school in 2011.
Okay.
So I was really fortunate that, to be in high school when, the arts were, at least for where I went to high school, it was really, arts were really important. And I was a part of a lot of really good shows and I got to be a part of a lot of opportunities. So, I really developed my passion for being involved in shows and, and working with people and helping people and, so really working my craft. So that was really fun.
That's awesome. And because I'm the king of sidebars and going off on little tangents, you mentioned Glee in there, and that seems like that would be right up your alley. Now, I kind of, I was really into it like season 1, season 2, and around, I think season 2 is when I met my now wife, and of course TV just took a backseat to everything. But how did you feel about that show? Do you really enjoy it, or?
The first couple of seasons, I was into it. I really liked it. I liked the music. I thought it was really good. And then the last couple of seasons, I wasn't invested. And,
yeah,
there's just the tragedy involved with like Finn dying and stuff. Spoiler alert for people.
Yeah. well, I'll tell you what, season 1, when I remember, God, this was around the time when I had one of my first like video iPods, and I think they gave away the first episode for free on like iTunes TV shows, and
yes,
I was like,
I remember that.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, what is this? Like, it didn't really seem like it would necessarily be up my alley, but I downloaded it anyway because I used to ride the bus to work back then. And I remember hearing their rendition of Don't Stop Believin'. And I know because you love music so passionately, because you're a creator of music, I know you're going to understand this when I say it, but there are times when you hear songs or you hear performance of songs where they just strike you so hard and it just stops you dead in your tracks. And I remember hearing that, and this is going to sound crazy because, people will say, oh, Journey, of course, they're the ones that did it the best. Of course, yes, that's the obvious thing. But when I heard that rendition of Don't Stop Believin', it just stopped me dead in my tracks, and I was like hooked from that moment forward.
Oh, right. I think it just kind of captured everybody because like no one had really done a TV show like that with the music like that.
Yeah. And then they did, towards the end of season 1, they did a rendition of Faithfully. I'm a big Journey fan, by the way, but they did a rendition of Faithfully, and I was like, oh my God, like this just cuts through me like a freaking knife. I just love the performance, the mood behind it. It was spectacular.
Well, yeah, I mean, that also was happening around the time of Pitch Perfect and all the acapella stuff was taking off. So, yeah. I mean, it really was a good time for the show, too. Everything was taken off, the whole Pitch Perfect thing, too. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh,
so high school, so it went very well for you. You have a lot of friends and all that stuff. You're pretty popular?
I mean, yeah, I was pretty popular in high school. I was the girl on stage. I had a really small, close knit of friends, though. I didn't have a lot of friends,
right.
But I had a small handful of close friends. I didn't have a big group, but a small, close knit friends. Yeah,
that's all you need, though. I mean, it just takes a group of a couple of friends and making memories, and it'll last a lifetime.
Right? Yeah, for sure. I had a couple people who didn't like me. I mean, you could be the ripest peach in the garden. There's going to be some people who don't like you, so,
Yeah.
and that was just a couple of people who were just, oh, she got in the choir and I didn't, there are a couple of people who were like that,
You know how
So-
like in high school they had all these qualifications, like the jocks, the preppies, the band geeks. Like what kind of category would you say you fall into? Like the band geek type, or like what category?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, band geek all the way. Because I was a band geek. Because I was a band geek first. Because I was in band, and then I joined show choir.
Right.
And then I called myself the triple threat because I was in band, show choir, and I was in theater. So I did all of them.
Nice. And, we'll talk a little bit about the health too, because that's kind of what brought us all together. A lot of us, we get on Instagram and we're brought together through this weight loss community. At what point in your life is health become an issue for you?
Well, yeah, for sure. So I was heavy. I've been heavy through most of my life. As a teenager, I was heavy as a teenager. And, all through college I was as well. And, when I was in high school, a couple of years, I was undiagnosed as hypothyroid.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a couple of years where like I just felt awful, like sluggish, and I gained a bunch of weight like really quickly, and then I just kept it on for a couple of years. And no matter what, every summer I would try and go outside and play basketball for hours with my dad, and like I wouldn't lose weight. Just would be ridiculous.
Right.
And then I went to the doctor finally, and they tested all my blood levels, and, runs in my family. They tested me for diabetes, but I didn't have diabetes. I don't have diabetes. But they said, oh, but you have hypothyroidism. And I was like, oh, great. And then, that's just, your hormones, your metabolism is terrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, great. I just was cursed with a shitty thyroid, So,
Yeah.
which, it's an easy fix. So you take medication, for the rest of your life to correct it, which is fine, so I'm on medication, to fix that. But, also, I mean, I think, as you go through puberty, and stress eating, that also, accumulates, weight as you go on, and then you go into college, and then freshman 15, freshman 30,
Yeah.
Senior 15, and that kind of, everything kind of piles on, and stress eating and everything. So by the time I think it was my senior year in college, and, I was feeling awful. Like I was stressed out, and, I was going up the stairs. I was feeling really winded, and I was just like, this is awful. Like, I feel like shit. This is awful.
Yeah.
And I was sick. I was sick a lot. And, and also like my mom, like I remember that year, my mom had just, had gallbladder surgery, and she almost had died from the surgery.
Yeah.
Cause she had almost got septic from the surgery. And so like that kind of scared the shit out of me. And so I was like, I really need to get my ass in gear, because if I keep going this way, like I'm going to end up in the ground. This is not good. And that's kind of a morbid view, but I mean, it's the truth, and I think everybody on their journey has a moment where they have to look in the mirror and, kind of look at themselves and have a moment where they're like, I need to get my ass in gear. I need to do this for me,
Oh yeah. I mean, and yeah, it might be considered morbid to some people, but sometimes that's the thought you have to have before you're ready to really, take action. Cause for so long, I think a lot of us, we live in kind of doubt. Like some of us were self-aware, but we keep kind of just going along with what we know. And then sometimes we're not self-aware, and at some point it hits us, and we have to almost think with these drastic measures. Otherwise, we're just not going to take action.
Right, for sure. And, so I just like, I kind of had like a crisis, and, and then that's when I kind of started to, at first, I was really scared to weigh myself.
Yeah.
So I started to work out first before I weighed myself, because I was really scared to step on the scale because I didn't want to,
Oh yeah.
So, because that can be a really scary thing. Numbers can be a really scary thing. So I started, so really at my heaviest, I didn't know how heavy I was when I first started working out, because I really don't know, because I was too scared. So I started to hop on the treadmill and, I downloaded, what is it called? I have it on my phone. Lose It, which is like a calorie tracker.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah. So I downloaded that. And then that's how I kind of started to get, on my health journey. And then I started to do some cardio and also my friend, like the couple of months later after I started, I had my little crisis, which was actually, a wonderful life change. It wasn't a crisis because a crisis is a negative. It was a positive thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing because it's gotten to me where I am now. So my friend was also getting married and she asked me to be in her wedding, this sounds a little vain, but I was like, I want to feel good and I want to look good too.
Sure.
There's part of that too, so I was like, I'm going to be up in a bridesmaid's dress and, I'm going to kick my ass and, I want to lose like however many pounds, if it's 5, if it's 2, if it's 10, if it's 20, so I decided I was like, I'm going to kick my own ass and I'm going to, however much comes off this summer, I'm going to do it. And I think that summer I ended up losing, it was like 50 pounds. I ended up losing or from the fall to the summer, like I ended up a couple of months, like losing 50 pounds. So that was hard, but, I needed to do that, so for myself. And that was like losing, like 10 pounds a month, is hard. I talked to my doctor, later, about it. And, we were talking about, like the healthy way to lose weight. And, she said, really like 2 pounds a week, a pound a week is good. 10 pounds a month is, really kind of difficult, and stuff. So, but I was determined and I did it and, trying to change those habits and stuff. But I did it and
yeah,
still working on it. So
that can be the toughest thing is just getting started. One of the things I hear from a lot of women that come on this show, it seems there's always like some sort of wedding that comes up and that becomes a big motivator, lights a fire under people's ass to want to like really get going. It's almost like they come along at the right time because it's like, hey, I've been thinking about doing something. Oh wait, there's a wedding. Now I really got to do something. And it ends up being this like this really cool motivator.
Yeah. So, it just, the timing happened to work out. So, I had like my moment and then, I was like, oh, it just so happened that my friend had asked me to be in her wedding. I was like, this works out,
Oh, definitely. Now I know you mentioned like there was definitely some stress eating and stuff throughout like college and stuff. Did you deal with a lot of like binge eating at all, or was it just eating the wrong stuff? What was the food like for you?
My food, it was a lot of night eating. What I would do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would go, I would eat pretty normal during the day, and then I would come back to my dorm room, or I would come back home if I was commuting. My first 2 years I commuted. I'd come back to my dorm room, and I would just eat a huge meal. Because when you go all day and you're in class, and then you come home and you're tired, it's like, I'm going to eat a huge meal because that is comforting, and I've had a long, stressful day, and, that's the big thing is night eating. For me, at least, having a big meal at night is really damaging because, when you eat at night, your body just stores all of it as fat,
Well, that, and it's like, not to mention you're coming home literally to shut everything down for the day. You're like, all right, I'm going to come home. Maybe I'll watch a little bit of TV or I'll just lay in bed and read a book, like whatever it is, like you're coming home to relax. It's not like you're coming home to pace around for a few hours while you eat or something. So it's like, your body's definitely shutting down for the day.
Right, for sure. And then also add stress eating onto that. And so I would binge, I would night eat normally. And then, even more so if it was stressing. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And college, I mean, what was kind of like your major in college?
So my major was, I had a music major and vocal performance was like my set instrument. So it was like so I earned a Bachelor of Science in music and voice was my instrument. And then piano was my secondary instrument, is my official credentials.
No, that's awesome. And I could imagine how all that could be stressful. Now I never went to college. I should preface that. So I don't fully understand, but I've definitely, I've had friends that have gone to college and I've heard, how stressful it definitely can be. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. It was really stressful. And undergrad it's I call it like the grunt degree because it's really hard. It's really difficult. Um, and it was a lot of stress, and there's a lot of personal growth too. When you're, just no, I mean, no matter what, if you're doing a college degree or not, when you're in your young 20s, there's a lot of growing that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
During that time. So whether you're in college or whether not, you're not. It's just there's a lot of emotional growing that's going on. You don't know who you are. Relationships and boyfriends and breaking up with boyfriends.
Oh my God, yeah.
And breaking up with maybe boyfriends. That's even more stressful. Yes. So those are the worst.
Yeah, but I can relate on the other end of that. The girlfriends, that's I've definitely gone through my share of that stuff.
Right. So we're emotional creatures. So so take out that whole thing and just, oh man, that's just stressful. So yeah, for sure. And then after that, I did my master's. I did my master's online, and I did it in a year, and it was so stressful. But wow. I did an accelerated program in music. I did an accelerated program, which got me to be, because I do some professor work now, some adjunct work. But oh gosh, it's really stressful. I mean, it's a lot.
You put in a lot of work though. That's very commendable for sure.
Yeah, a lot of work and a lot of coins, Gary.
You still paying off some of that college?
Yes, I'm still working on it. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one thing I definitely don't miss out on about college. Don't get me wrong. I've heard all the stories about going to college and making the friends and going to the parties and all that stuff. But the bill at the end of the day, I'm glad I don't have one of those. Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's good. But yeah. I did run up an absorbent amount of credit card debt, so I'm still kind of in a similar boat.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Maybe I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to feel like I had some of that college burden.
You got something.
So, I mean, look, you did a lot there in college, and you wanted to start getting healthy. Now, the transition is always something that's very key. You talk about, getting on the treadmill and doing some cardio and all that stuff. What was it like for you just in terms of, transitioning out of the lifestyle you were in before and trying to go to the healthy lifestyle? Did you encounter a lot of problems, whether it be working out or eating or both?
Oh, gosh, problems. Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like the difference between, then and, the lifestyle change is not giving up.
Yeah.
I feel like there were a lot of times where I would have a bad week or I would have a bad day. I was like, I didn't eat very well today. And, I would be like, I just want to give up, and there's a lot of times there's a little negative voice in your head that's like, I'm going to be fat forever. This sucks. This is awful,
Oh yeah.
But, and we got to like constantly fight off that voice and be like, no, you're wrong. Like, no, that's not the truth. That's just, that's doubt and fear and anxiety in your head. And that's not the truth, So, I mean, that definitely was a challenge. Another challenge was, figuring out, like portion sizes and trying to figure out, like trying to get my plate right. And, that was kind of challenging at first, but that app was helpful with that. That made things easy. I could scan things. It went right into the app. Thank God for technology. Oh my God,
I know. What would we do without it? Could you imagine trying to lose all this weight, like growing up in the 90s or something as an adult?
No. How did they do it with just like a notebook? I'd lose my mind. A calculator and a notebook. No, absolutely not. I'd lose my fucking mind.
There's no way. It would be incredibly difficult. I do remember my mother, and I always thought that she was in incredible shape, but she just had her own thoughts about it, and she went through her slim fast shake period, and then all these other trying all the different things. And I remember as I was starting to get bigger, I was starting to experiment with all these gimmicks. I tried the slim fast shakes, the Stacker 2 pills, and all this other garbage. And
right.
you go through, you run the gamut of all these things, and at the end of the day, it just comes down to making major habit changes and making better decisions. And, you realize you don't need all that stuff. You just need the will and the determination.
Right. And also another challenge is trying to figure out how to stop yourself from making excuses.
Yes.
Because that willpower is great, but your mind will also have the willpower to not do it.
Oh, 100%. I'm in that world right now where I'm battling myself. So I totally understand that.
Same. And it's so difficult. Like right now, I've been dealing with a lot with migraines, just on my health journey and my weight journey.
Yeah.
I've gained a bit back, just because I've been struggling with my medication and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But, it's one thing to have, a medical problem with, headaches and stuff. That's understandable. But to have the willpower problem, it's like, I have to get pumped. Like, I got to do this.
Yeah. We got to figure out a way.
We got to do this. But where there's a will, there's a way. So, we got to get pumped. We got to do this.
Well, I mean, you dropped, looking over here at your Instagram at Presenting Lady J, a great account to follow, by the way, where you're down 75. I mean, that's a pretty damn good number. I have to say that.
Thank you. I've gained a little bit. So, I mean, it's really like 60, 65.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh, thank you. I originally, when I started out, I wanted to be down 100, but 75 is pretty good. So I feel good with that number. But, what really helped me get down there was Zumba. I know on my page, you can probably see, Zumba is so much fun. I started getting into Zumba by chance when I was in college, and then I hopped into a class.
Right.
And then that's what helped me get down to that number. So much fun. I love Zumba so much.
Yeah. I mean, now I've never done it personally, but it's basically a lot of dancing, correct?
Yeah. Zumba is like cardio dancing. So it's a lot of hip hop and Latin. It's a couple of different rhythms like cumbia and merengue and hip hop and a lot of stuff combined into a workout. So it's like you dance and you forget that you're working out. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, yeah, and because you're big into the music, I mean, it seems like it would be right up your wheelhouse anyway. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Zumba totally makes sense for me. And so, I took classes for a while, and then my teacher was like, hey, you should definitely think about getting certified. And, and Zumba certification, really anybody can do it as long as you go through the 8 hours of training.
Right.
And you can be a Zumba teacher. So anybody really who wants to be a Zumba teacher can, as long as you go and you show up and you pay the certification fee, and then you can be a Zumba teacher. So it's really fun.
No, that's awesome. And circling back to something you said just a moment ago where, you're talking about the 75 down and you thought that was a good number. I mean, that's really half the battle, right? It's not even so much hitting a certain number. I did a podcast about this last night about, the number and the amount of time it takes to get to a certain number. But I think really, truly half the battle is trying to stay happy and trying to find, being content with the person you are in this current time. Not that you don't have goals and you want to go further. Obviously you do. But just trying to find that moment of happiness where you're like, you know what? I'm really happy with where I am. I mean, that is probably the ultimate struggle, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh, right. I mean, and that's just being a human being. I mean, and just accepting where we are in a moment in time, just being happy with that number. I mean, numbers are going to fluctuate, up and down.
Yep.
And that sort of thing, But yeah, that's what I'm definitely struggling with right now. I'm struggling with, getting back into the swing of things and, getting my routine back in, especially with, with the state of the world right now and everything and COVID and stuff,
That is exactly where I was going to go next, because I mean, this podcast right here is going to be out sometime in mid to late May, maybe early June, somewhere there. I have to look at the schedule, but I would hope to think that by that point we would be in a better spot. But I obviously would be remiss if we didn't mention kind of what's going on in the state of the world right now. So with that being said, how are you personally dealing with that? I know you said you're going through some struggles anyway with just your health in general, but how is your life itself like dealing with this time, and how are you processing all of this?
You know, I'd like to say that everything's all fine and good, because that's the normal human reaction. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. This could be fine. It's
Yep.
like the dog meme. The dog meme. This is good. This is fine, and everything's on fire in the background.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's a struggle. I mean, work is a struggle. I think everybody's pay has gotten cut. My pay got cut. So.
Yeah.
I'm working smaller hours, and my university, my students are all online, so my students are struggling, and I'm trying to help them cope. I'm trying to cope being all online, and and trying to find a new normal of being home and not being able to go out and have the freedom to do what we normally do.
Oh yeah.
It's just a struggle. I think everybody's, kind of trying to find their new normal and trying to figure this all out. And, but the hope and the prayer is that it's temporary. That's the hope and the prayer. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that probably without knowing anything about anything, I mean, I'm thinking that we're in this for probably a few more months. And I hate to even say that, but I think that it's probably just a fair estimate. So it's like, yeah, we're just trying to figure everything out and just try to find, we talked about just a moment ago about finding that balance of happiness and being content where you're at while you're still in process of working on your goals and all this stuff. But then something like this comes along and it can seriously derail, even the best of progress, which is exactly what I personally was dealing with. So yeah, I mean, this is just, it's an unprecedented time, and we don't know quite where it's going to go. We know that, at some point it's going to get better, because that's just the nature. We will find a way to get through it. We will get better, and life will go back to whatever normal is, but it's just going to take some time.
Right. Yeah. It's just kind of crazy because, finding the joy and finding the happiness and all of this, like, thank God for technology,
oh my God, yeah.
Without the internet, we would lose our minds. Like the other day, I think I got like an alert from the Weather Channel or whatever saying that a windstorm could come through and knock out the power. And I think my friend like texted me and said, "I'm going to lose my mind if we don't have internet." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's our only but that's how much we rely on technology,
Yeah.
to connect us to the world. I mean, it's just such a simple thing that, we take for granted. I mean, and going out and go grabbing a coffee or, getting some takeout or, I mean, just driving or to go see my parents. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. And you're right. You're totally right. It's really, easy to derail. Something like this can totally, derail, even the best of progress. I mean, I was in a funk before this happened. I'm feeling, feeling the funk now. Even though
Yeah.
COVID has come around,
Yeah, it definitely will screw up a lot of things. But technology, that's a big thing. It's something that I kind of wanted to pivot into next, 'cause I know you've got some other stuff going on. I see here you're blogging and vlogging, and you're obviously on Instagram. You have a presence on there. But we'll start with the Instagram since we're kind of in the health, and we can kind of go from there. So like, at what point do you decide, you want to get on Instagram and share some of these things about, your health journey and things like that?
Yeah. So, I like Instagram because, it's quick, it's easy. I feel like I want to share when, I'm having a good moment, when I'm feeling good about myself, or when I want to, reach out to the community or, just get some info. That's when I really started with Instagram. As I started following, that's how I found you, actually. I found you on Instagram, and then I found who else? Lexi.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Lexi, Kayla, her name is Time to Deflate. I don't know if you're following her too.
I'll have to check her out. The names
yes,
sounds
she's
familiar.
Great. Yes. Kayla, Jessica in Florida,
Okay,
He's in
yeah.
Tampa, actually. So kind of getting inspiration, and so I started getting inspiration from everybody, and I was like, I kind of want to get into this community. So that's how I started getting into Instagram, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to join in, and I want to I want to contribute to the community too. So that's how I started to get my Instagram page together, and my Instagram is kind of a combination of different things. Sometimes I'll post like a little video of me playing ukulele, or I'll post like a selfie, or maybe like maybe some cosplay that I've been doing with some of my friends, or a Zumba video, or a Zumba workout selfie, or something like that. So whether I'm feeling good or feeling serious, or so it's really just kind of it's almost like an emotional blog.
Yeah, it's a little combination of everything. I was actually scrolling while you were talking there. Our connection goes back as far as November of 2018 at the very least. That was our first DM together. It's kind of the magic of scrolling back through the DMs, because you can see how far back it really goes. But I'm sure we had had some sort of contact even before that. So that's pretty wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
That's forever ago.
Yeah. And so it also says on here that you're a vlogger. Tell me about that, because that's something I'm very interested in.
Oh, yes. I started my YouTube channel, and, I really wanted to get into that. And then my migraines hit me like a truck, and then I really couldn't, film, because I was feeling awful and I was feeling terrible. So,
yeah.
But that is one of my goals for 2020, is to start getting up some YouTube videos. I posted like maybe one or two. I think I filmed one or two is on my channel on YouTube. So I want to get some music videos, just playing videos out there, like get some videos about like working out, and just some blog stuff, to get like a creative outlet. So that's one of my goals, to get my YouTube channel going. So yeah,
I'm amazed at all the variety of stuff that you can find on YouTube. Like I love, even with the music stuff, like I love to watch random people cover different songs, like whether they're a singer or a guitar player or even a drummer. I just love to watch people play music. That's something that really excites me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you can find anything and any different style too. That's the great thing about finding different music on YouTube, or oh gosh, it's great. I mean, you can find anything from apartment cleaning videos to ASMR soap cutting to 50s jazz Ed Sheeran covers. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. My guilty pleasure on the YouTube has got to be the unboxings of stuff that I'll probably never buy or what have you, but I love watching a lot of the tech unboxings and the reviews. I mean, stuff that I'll probably never buy, but I don't know what it is about it. I just love to throw those on, or even the videos of people eating stuff, like reviewing foods. 'Cause I'm like, all right, I'm not really in that business anymore of eating a ton of stuff, but I'll watch somebody else tear it up.
Oh yeah. Those are so good. I love travel vlogs too.
Oh yes.
Yes, travel vlogs for sure. People are going like to China, or going to India, or even to like California and stuff, like places like, oh man, going to Disney. Oh, Disney ones are fun too. People just going into Disney World doing vlogs and stuff. Super fun.
Yeah. And if they do it right, you really get wrapped up kind of into their world, and you follow along to their different vlogs. And I love the ones that mix it up. They have like the time lapses. They got like the GoPro on their shoulder. Then they have the regular camera, and they're filming the talking head stuff. And I don't know. I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it.
I know. And there's also the fails too that are really funny. Like the compilation fails are also so good. So funny.
My wife, I got to tell you, my wife, it drives her nuts, because I probably watch, honestly, I probably watch more YouTube than I watch regular TV.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you ever looked into like the YouTube like Red, or like the Plus Premium or whatever?
I have been a member of YouTube Red before. Well, I guess what are they calling it? Premium now, but they I was a member of it when it first came out. I tried it for a while, then I'm like, okay, this doesn't really fit in the budget, but it was nice to skip the ads. And then it was when they came out with Cobra Kai that I would subscribe every year when Cobra Kai came out, because that was one of the most absolute fascinating, most compelling TV shows online on TV, period. I love it. And I would subscribe for that as well.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I love YouTube. I watch it all the time. I watch them when I'm getting ready, when I'm just chilling. YouTube is the way of the world.
There's this one girl who's a drummer. I watch a lot of her videos, this Christina Schiano, and she just plays like a lot of rock songs on the drums. And you know, again, like I'm not a drummer. I've tried my hand at drums. I'm not very good, but there's just something about watching a musician that is passionate about what they do, and like just watching them play other people's songs. Even it's just fun to watch. Like, oh, I love this song where they do this fill or something like that, and oh, it's getting ready to come up, and you see how they do it, and it's really fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. There's also like the rockin' like 1,000, 3,000 stuff. Have you seen that video of like, there's like 1,000 musicians and they all play the same song like on a field? It's so cool.
No, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, cool.
So you mentioned 2020, one of your goals is to get the vlog going. What are some of your other goals for this year? And I know we should obviously, again, preface that there's a lot going on in the world right now, and that some of these things, you know, we don't know what kind of the plan or the future holds, but what is some of the stuff that you have on your mind that you're really wanting to work on in this year and beyond?
Oh, man. Oh, well, once we're out of crisis mode, I'd like to, you know, get back into my routine, and I'd like to finish what I started and lose my 100. I'd like to lose 100 pounds. I'd like to get up there.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, I would like to get some music recorded.
That would be awesome.
Whether it's just a single or some cover song, something. You know, just get something recorded. That's two.
Yeah.
Just one random one. I've always wanted to go horseback riding.
Oh, wow. That sounds interesting.
I've always wanted to. And like, it's just, I've never had the chance to. And I've always wanted to go horseback riding. So that's a random one that just kind of popped in my head. Yeah. Talked about YouTube.
Yep.
Traveling for sure, but you know, that's not a thing right now because of crisis mode.
Right. You could also do travel vlogging. Perhaps you could try a stab at that.
Right. Yeah.
It all goes together. Vlogging while you're in the studio recording something. There's another idea there.
Yeah. So yeah, getting my YouTube channel. Yeah, for sure. Also, with my master's and stuff, I would like to get my doctorate. That's a big goal. I would like to get my doctorate, maybe in music. So we'll see. But
you've come this far. I think you can do anything at this point.
I know. A doctorate's a real big commitment, though. That's like a 6, 7, almost 8-year program, though. It's a long one. So we'll see. I gotta pick the right program for that. Well, we'll see. You mentioned wanting to go in the studio. Are you writing a lot of your own stuff? You know, I have some chord progressions written down, and I have some lyrics. I don't have it's like kind of like pieces of a puzzle. Right. I have pieces, but I haven't had the time to put them together, and that sounds like an excuse because it is an excuse. What comes for you first, though? Is it the music or is it the lyrics? What comes first usually? It's the music. It's always the music. Same here. First. The chord progression, and the melody comes first, and then the lyrics come after. I was always that kind of person where I would pick up the guitar first, and you'd figure out this really cool riff or like a melody or something, and you're like, okay, now where's my head at? What do I want to write? That kind of stuff, and it just pops right up. Right. Yeah. And then sometimes it happens by accident too. Like I was helping one of my students create a song, and she had done something, and I had sampled like a chord progression that she didn't like. And I was like, oh, but I love this, and I'm going to use this. You ever have something that you came up with like years ago that just kind of like pops back up and kind of fits now more than it did years ago? You ever have that happen to you? Yeah, I think I found when I was moving from my parents' house to my apartment, I found like an old diary, and I'd found some song lyrics in there. And I'd found that I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of relatable." It was like some teen angsty stuff, and I was like, "This is kind of relatable." And so like I was playing around with some chord progressions and stuff, and I wrote it down and like took a voice memo of it, and it wasn't like a full song; it was just a little chunk. But I was like, "This is relatable."
That's the one thing I wish I had years ago when I did it, was the voice memo stuff, because back in my day, I'm going to sound like an old man. I'm going to date myself because I'm 37 years old. Yes, I am that old man, but I will tell you that when I used to have ideas, I would have to record them on tape, like cassette tape at first. And then as I got a halfway decent computer, I'd have like a USB mic and play in front of that and record it straight on the computer. And that was my only way to like document kind of where my head was at with some of this writing and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're not that old. I had a tape player as well, and I had a CD player, and I have a, and I had an iPod Classic. So the classic one that you could have all of your music forever and it never broke. I still have it and it works. It's amazing.
I love that. Well, let me tell you what, you have been incredible with your time. I appreciate this conversation. This was literally, I mean, it was so much fun. And tell the people again where they can get you on the Instagram and how to reach out to you.
Oh, yes, for sure. So my Instagram is all lowercase, presenting Lady J. Yes. Thank you so much, Gary. This is so much fun. I had a blast.
Definitely. And at some point in the future, when you are, rich and famous with the music and you got that doctorate and all that good stuff, you're going to have to come back on. I want the exclusive. You know what I'm saying? We got to get the exclusive. Maybe I'll be coming through Michigan. We'll do a face-to-face next time.
Yes, that sounds awesome. Sounds good to me.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. You too. Take care.
Wow. What a podcast. Thanks again, Jannah, for stopping by, hanging out with me today. Guys, make sure that you're checking the show notes of this podcast, because when you go in there, I've got the link so you can go and check out her Instagram page. Go show her some love. Go follow her and see all the cool stuff she's up to. And that's really the way to do it. I have really nothing more to say other than check out Apple Podcasts. Leave a review if you can. I would greatly appreciate it. If you like the podcast, of course, if you don't like the podcast, why are you listening? Why would you leave a review? But if you like the podcast, if you're saying to yourself, Gary, I don't know why you don't have millions of listeners. Well, we got to get the word out. It's that simple. And with the Apple Podcast algorithm, if you ain't got the reviews, you don't exist. So head on over there. If you like the show, leave a 5-star review. Tell the people why you like the show, what brings you back to the show every week, how you think it might help them, etc., etc. And that's really it. Leave a review. It helps out the show. Believe it or not, it may sound like a small thing, but it does help out the show. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll talk to you again next week right here on the Gary Cantrell Podcast.